So why did I do a PhD? Well, I was working on a project out in Sri Lanka for a few years, and I was coming to the end of that bit of work, and I kind of realised that actually what I wanted to do was I wanted to continue doing the really kind of interesting work I was doing, and it had the opportunity to do a PhD, and it seemed like that was the sort of next step. Before I started my PhD, I always thought, well, one of the really hard things about doing a PhD will just be the intellectual sort of challenges, how I'll be challenged intellectually. But actually what I found the hardest about doing a PhD was the isolation. I was doing this project entirely on my own. I mean, I did have supervisors, but it was something that I was driving, a project that was would basically do well if I put the effort in, or wouldn't do well if I didn't put the effort in. And I remember someone telling me at the start of my PhD that you'll only get as much out of your PhD as you put in. So that kind of was probably not the best thing to say to me, because that meant that I felt like I had to put in everything, and that was at the detriment of me doing anything else. So I stopped spending time with friends, I stopped doing hobbies, and I guess towards the end of my 3 years into my PhD, so I had 4 years, I started to really struggle. I struggled to sort of get up in the morning. I struggled to find the meaning of what I was doing, and I thought, compared to everyone else's PhD, my PhD is really quite rubbish. And who really cares? And that was really hard to deal with, and the isolation meant that I didn't really speak to anyone about it. I wasn't really exercising, I wasn't eating well, and it was a real low point, and I really couldn't see my way out of it, and that was very difficult to deal with. Now I remember in one of my supervision sessions with my supervisors, one of my supervisors asked me a question that I hadn't anticipated and I wasn't expecting, and that was, how are you doing? And I guess I was really unprepared for that question, and it sort of jolted me out of, the sort of normal task-based sort of questions that we would have during my supervision sessions, and it made me answer honestly for the first time in ever, and that really was a key point for me, because it meant that it made me sit up and realize that what I was doing with my sort of mental health wasn't really good, and I was really struggling. And that sort of question of how are you okay, helped me sort of it set a series of things in motion, and meant that I started to look for help. I started to do the things that I didn't do before. I reconnected with people, and it kind of really helped, and it helped me to also talk to other students who were at the same stage as me, and just sort of say, well, I'm really struggling, and I can't see the end of this, and it really helped to hear that they were struggling and they were experiencing a similar kind of sense of sort of difficulty. It wasn't a sign of weakness. It's something that we all feel, I think, and I really hope that if you are feeling down about your PhD, or you're feeling down generally, you do the things that you should do, which is make sure you exercise, you eat well, you stay connected, and make sure you come into the office and talk to other people around you, talk to other PhD students, and be open, be honest. Don't try and put up a front saying that you're okay when you're not.